Hello everyone and welcome back to Closet's Gaming. Today we are going to take a look at Hinterhalt 2. This first-person shooter with cartoony graphics promises tons of fun and excitement in huge battles taking place in World War II. Whether it can deliver on these promises is the question we will try to answer today. Hinterhalt 2 is available on Steam for €8.19 with a regional equivalent. I'll be honest with you guys. I haven't played a first-person shooter probably since I've played the last Doom, and that was one hell of a great first-person shooter, but I'll try to be as objective as I can be nonetheless. So, as we do always, we will start the review by taking a look at the mechanics of the game, and this will be a fairly easy job here in Hinterhalt 2, as this is a very simple game at its core. The developer decided to go with the most bare bones of a shooter I have seen in a long time. Thus, what you have at your disposal is shooting and running. Not even crouching is implemented in this game. And because we really don't have to talk about the tools you get to deal with enemies, let's talk more in depth about the two main mechanics you have to work with. And I don't think we have to talk about running that much, honestly. It's just slightly faster movement speed compared to walking. And when I say slightly, I mean slightly. Instead, let's take some time to talk about the shooting, which is freaking awful. All the weapons are inaccurate as hell, and thus hitting something that is further than 3 steps away from you is a matter of luck rather than a matter of skill. Probably most impressively, firing weapons from your hip is more accurate than firing them when aiming. That makes zero sense and makes long-range weapons like the sniper rifle close to useless. But firing from your hip has its own problem. The little circle that tells you where you are aiming is close to invisible. Thus, instead of focusing on where enemies are and if you have to take cover, half of the time, if not more, you will be searching your screen for the tiny little gray and almost invisible circle so you know in which direction you are actually shooting. Right now, you're probably thinking, man, that sounds pretty bad. You know what? That's not even the worst part. This is then combined with god-awful spawning. There were myriads of times when I spawned right in the middle of a group of enemies just to be killed without even getting a chance to get out. I guess I mentioned your enemies, so let's talk about AI for a second. It's just as bloody awful as the shooting experiences. And it doesn't matter whether we're talking about enemy AI or the AI of the bots on your team. Both are awful, and honestly, I don't know which one was more pissing me off than the other. The enemy AI seems to have aimbots active, as they're capable of hitting you from across the map with the same exact weapons you use. And remember, it would be hard to hit a barn even if you were inside of it. And for some reason, the developers have decided to give them reflexes that allow them to see you, aim at you, and shoot within less than a second after you spawn. But apart from their apparent mastery of weapons that fire with more randomness included than your average lottery, and the reflexes that could be used to pilot spaceships through densely packed asteroid fields, they're dumb. Dumb as hell. They just walk around, not taking cover or anything like that. On the other hand, you have your quote-unquote teammates, which lack their counterparts' impressive aim and reflexes while retaining their dumbness in all other ways. So they work only as ammo fodder, and it's up to you to do the majority of the killing. Combine that with the fact that friendly fire exists in this abomination of a game, and friendlies like to shoot straight through you, especially if you just happen to spawn right in front of them, and you get one hell of a bad AI. All of this leads to situations that can't even be described by the words not fun. Not even boring or bad. The game is just unpleasant to play. You can be spawned into a map only to be killed by a bot that's seen you and hit you from across the map, or even better, your ally standing right behind you. And if by some miracle you survive the first 5 seconds and manage to get away from your quote-unquote teammates and take cover to orient yourself, you can't hit anything unless you're standing right in front of it. The last thing I need to talk about is how you differentiate between ally and foe. Because if you were to do it strictly based off the different factions' looks, you had no chance. Seriously, zero chance of guessing that. So instead there is this little square above the bots, and it's either red or yellow. And you might assume that red means it's an enemy. But no, that's not fully true. That's true only if the enemy is part of the Axis. That means Germans, Japanese. The Allies get a yellow dot. So if you play for the first time as one of the Allies, you'll assume that red means enemy. And when you try playing as the other side, you'll start shooting your allies. What the heck? Who came up with this? Okay, those are the mechanics, and I don't think I need to reiterate that they are bad. But that's still not all that is bad with this game. No sir. We need to talk about the, well, false advertising this game pretty much does. Let's talk about the modes available. And this time, I'll start with the best one, the zombie mode. This is the only playable mode in the game, and it's exactly what you'd assume, just more boring than in other games. You can spawn and battle increasingly larger groups of zombies. But the zombies are always the same, and they just run directly at you and you shoot them. Assuming you don't get shot by your friendlies at the very start of the game. It's actually easier to kill the zombies when all your teammates died rather than when they are in the game. But nonetheless, this mode is at least playable. It's not great, just not a total disaster. And then we have the Skirmish and Campaign modes, which are exactly the same thing. Just in the Skirmish mode you get to choose your map and decide you'll be playing as. Otherwise, it's just a mode where there is a limited amount of respawn tickets for both teams, and the one that manages to kill the other team faster wins. But killing an AI-controlled character removes 1 ticket, while if you get killed, it removes 5 tickets. Remember, you're getting killed within 5 seconds after respawning, and it happens often, and even worse, often many times in a row. This puts whatever team you're playing for at an insane disadvantage. But that's still not the part I would label as false advertising. That is the campaign mode itself. It's not a campaign mode. There is no story included, there are no objectives. It's just a skirmish mode with a little tiny cinematic at the beginning of each battle. That is not a campaign mode, seriously! So, Hinterhalt 2 is awful mechanically. None of the mechanics make sense or are fun. I really don't have much more to say about this game mechanically. So let's move on to the superficial parts of this abomination. And we're going to start with the graphics. And I'll be honest here, the graphics are fairly good. The style was actually what drew me to this game. It's cartoony style that I think could work very well for a shooter, as it allows a lot of bright colors and allow you not to get confused. But sadly, as I said before, Hinterhalt 2 totally screws that up as well. But again, the style itself is actually nice. It's just used in a game that doesn't deserve it. Next up is the music. Well, it would be up, but there is no music to speak about. So, nope. Surprisingly enough, in terms of the performance, Hinterhalt 2 actually ran well. It didn't experience any frame drops or crashes, so there's at least that. So, in conclusion, Hinterhalt 2 is awful. Don't buy this. The shooting is horrific. The AI is terrible. You get randomly spawned into groups of enemies that shoot you within 0.01 seconds. The modes are boring and there truly isn't a single redeemable fact about this game. It's just not a fun game to play. Honestly, if this were like a high schooler's project, I would give him praise for making something that, with a lot of work, could be made into something decent. But the developers decided to charge money for this. And that was their mistake. Don't spend your money on this. Buy a good shooter and not this crap. So that's it for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed the review, and if you did, please consider giving me a thumbs up here on YouTube and subscribe to the channel. And comment if you have anything you would like to add. See you guys later with more gaming content.